Welcome into the Action Network podcast. We're back for NFL Best Bets, getting set for Week 9. Brendan Glasheen joined by Brandon Anderson. He's our featured NFL contributor here for Best Bets. You can find Brandon Anderson in the free award-winning Action Network app. Picks there, not just for this week, but awards, futures, etc., that he'll be adding throughout the season, even picks going back earlier in the year. If you find some value, taking a look at those. Be sure to do so, along with his articles, of course, in the Action Network app, actionnetwork.com. 3 best bets surrounding players, player props. We have a lightning round of sides and totals, and then we'll do a couple of look-aheads from Brandon for Week 10. So let's dive in. Your best bet number 1, please.
Yeah, first one is actually one of my favorite bets of the year so far. I am loving Devin Achane this week against the Bills. So I'm going to take his over receiving yards, 32.5. That is the basis here, but I'm also going to play the over 3.5 receptions, and then we're going to build a little escalator here. The super escalator did not go well last week. Jordan Love got injured for us. We're going to build a little Achane super escalator. So we teased this a little bit Sunday night, right? We talked about how much better Achane has been with Tua. This is a really big game for Miami. 2-5 at Buffalo. They got to have this to save the season. But Buffalo's won 12 of 13 against Miami. And why does that matter here? It matters because Buffalo's defended this McDaniel offense really well. They play a lot of too high safety. They get rid of the explosives. They force you to, matriculate the ball down the field. And that is not Miami Dolphins football. However, it is Devin Achane football, because what that results in, that style of defense for Buffalo, is a lot of checkdowns to running backs. Buffalo has allowed the most running back receptions and the most running back receiving yards in the NFL this season. 51 catches already, 434 yards. Achane last week, 6 for 50. In the other 2 a game, 7 for 76 and 7 for 69. So 6+ catches every game and averaging 65 yards a game. That for a whole season with Tua would be a pace of 113 catches for 1,100 yards. This is a receiver and a running back all in one. This is why we're so high on him before the season. He's caught 20 of 22 targets. So these are a lot of just short passes in the slot that he's just being Devin Achane afterward. With no Tua, 12 targets in 4 games, 9 catches, 49 yards. It did not go well for him. And I think, honestly, if you're in Miami, this is your best chance for an explosive, too. You're not going to get it down the field. Just get it to your guys short and let them do the explosive play. So here's where we're going. Over 32.5 receiving yards. Again, Achane's had 50-plus yards all 3 Tua games. That's what we're doing as our data here. Bills have allowed 25 receiving yards to a running back 7 times already. So love the over 32.5. Obviously, we're playing 50-plus yards, plus 230. That's, I think, what the line should be. Again, Achane's done that all 3 Tua games. I think this line is just not adjusting for that. Receptions, over 3.5. The Bills have allowed 3 or more receptions to a running back 9 times already this season. That's more than 1 per game. Achane is getting 6 or 7 every game. Again, I think that line is way too low. 5 catches for 50 yards, plus 350. The Bills have allowed that 4 times already to running backs. 1 of them to Achane when they played back, a little over a month ago. So we're going to play that as well. And then the last part of the escalator, I'm still kind of deciding, still piecing this together, but a couple options for you. Keep an eye on the app. 70 yards. Remember, he's averaged 65 yards a game, receptions, 69 one game, 76 in one game. 70 yards is plus 575. So we're definitely going to touch that a little bit. 90 yards he hasn't gotten to yet, but it's 13-1. That's a standard escalator play for like a 0.1 unit or something. And then on the receptions, 7+ receptions, I see a 5-1 out there. He's done that 2 games and missed it by 1, the other one. So I'm playing most all of this stuff. I'm playing the over 32.5. I'm going to play the over 3.5 receptions. This is one of my favorite plays of the year. I'm going to end up like 2.5, 3 units all in on this one. So we'll touch them all, and hopefully Achane has another big receiving game.
Okay. And the Bills are 5.5-point favorites. You figure maybe a trailing game script as well that suits this kind of game for Tua. His binky, if you will. I know he's got Hill and Waddle, but also in a trailing script, that bodes well. I think, if anything, Mike McDaniel is going to take a look, believe it or not, at some Jets film, how they got Breece Hall going in the passing game
Yeah.
When the
Yeah,
Bills
Brees is another one of the guys that had the 5 and 50 already this year. One of the 4 with Achane. That's another thing, too, worth noting. I agree with the game script thing. This might be I don't do a lot of live props, partly because I can't give them out on this show.
Sure.
This might be a live prop angle, too. I've seen several times where we're getting the 2-minute drill before halftime. Achane hasn't done much and suddenly catches like 3 passes on one drive and gets 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. So this could be one where don't panic if your bet's in and we're mid-second quarter and we're not there yet. We still got some of those 2-minute drives. But if you are a live prop bettor, this might be a spot for you to get in on a buy low situation as well, especially like Brennan said, if the game script is there. I think I like this in either game script. That's part of why I like the play.
Okay. This is not a hold your nose running back situation because the discombobulated Dallas Cowboys defense has been a theme outside. Everything gets made about McCarthy and Prescott and Lamb and Prescott, their symmetry. But there's an angle against Dallas's defense. You're turning to Bijan Robinson.
I am. I'm going to take Bijan, just take his over on rushing yards at 73.5 right now. Give me that plus a touchdown. It's plus 146 together. You alluded to this. Our ugly running back trio did not go well for me last week. I went 0-3 in ugly running back. So that's why I'm leading with props today with not ugly players. I'm picking the guys that I know are good, and I'm having them do good stuff. That's the play today. Bijan's good. Achane's good. We're getting another good player on the third one. Our ugly running backs last week, all 3 got stuffed inside the one. Like they were like, hey, great play. It was good in theory, but we suck. You forgot about how we suck. Okay, Bijan Robinson doesn't suck. He's really good, and he looks the part this year. And I think in this game, Falcons-Cowboys, Atlanta offense is the only unit I actually trust in this game, especially running the football against Dallas. Dallas run D, number 30 by DVOA. This might be one of those games, right? We've seen those games from the Cowboys where that run defense cannot get off the field. All right. Hello, Bijan Robinson. Hello, Tyler Algier. Hello, a run-first offensive line that's really been playing well this year. Can Dak pass on them? Probably. Not if he's not in the field, though. Not if Atlanta has like 35, 40 minutes of possession. I think that's the angle we might be getting here. Dallas has been number 2 in fantasy points per game allowed to running backs. If you look at just Dallas losses, here's some of the lines we've seen. Garendo last week, 14 carries, 85 yards and a score. Montgomery, we played that one, 80 yards, 2 scores. Derrick Henry, 151 on 25 carries, 2 scores. Alvin Kamara, 115 yards, 4 touchdowns that game. If Dallas loses, I love this play. Even if they don't lose, I still like it. Bijan just ran for over 100 yards and a score 2 weeks ago in a loss. So he's hit a touchdown 3 straight, 4 in the last 3 games. He's running about as well as anyone right now. Just like the talent pops. You watch him and you're like, man, this guy, remember the old Barry Sanders where he'd hand it off and it's like he runs 50 yards to gain 2 and it's just like the most spectacular play of the game. Bijan has that quality about him right now. He's averaging 68 yards a game. So 73.5 here, a little bit above the average, but we're playing Dallas, so I'm fine with that. Give me the over rushing yards plus a score, plus 146.
We're recording on Thursday, Halloween. Micah Parsons did not practice Wednesday. He's the glue to that defense. And just, Mike Zimmer has had so many issues getting these guys. He's had to shuffle the deck constantly with these guys. But the other thing, too, with Robinson, the offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, these offensive minds, Shanahan last week, you go back even more to Ben Johnson in Detroit. Just I don't think there's any formula. So you got good coaching, I think, on your side here, too. Robinson, one of the big names in the coaching circuit, offensive coordinator for Raheem Morris and the Atlanta Falcons. And we're going to go back to receiver for your best bet number 3, A.J. Brown.
Yeah, guys who do not suck. A.J. Brown does not suck. Let's go with him. Let's take the receiving yards over 75.5, and we'll get to a couple escalators on it. Eagles offense finally got going last week, and don't I know it. Had the under, did not go well for me. They put up a lot of points on the Bengals. I think if you look at the Eagles right now, just a note here, this is a pretty good spot to invest in Eagles futures. If you want to do it, they're a little bit overlooked right now. They're 5-2. Our guy Anthony DeBundo, now over at the Ringer, talked about Jalen Hurts for MVP, 20-1. There's a really nice stretch of subpar pass defenses coming up, starting with Jacksonville, which we'll get to here. A.J. Brown, I mentioned before, that's our pick here. Offensive Player of the Year, A.J. Brown, 100 to 1 still at a book out there. I still think that is worth investing in. If you're doing it, you have to do it before this game because that's the whole point. Jacksonville's defense is awful. They are last in the league by DVOA. They're last in the league pass defense. We played them with your guy Drake May. We played them a couple of times now. You know we got to play them with A.J. Brown, who shreds anyone he faces. Jacksonville this season has allowed 27 yards or more on a catch 20 times already. 2.5 times a game, they're allowing just a rip down the field. A.J. Brown has a 29-plus catch every single game that he's played this season. Only 4 so far, but that's pretty good. If you want to just do the longest catch, over 25.5, I don't mind that. I tried that with Jamar Chase, didn't go well for me, so I'm just going to do the yards here. I think A.J. might get a couple big plays. He's had in his 4 games 84-plus yards every single game. So he's cleared this line every game this season. He's scored a touchdown 3 out of the 4. He's had a 40-plus yard catch 3 out of the 4 also. So I think we might get just a really big play here. Since the start of last season, this over 75.5 line is just too low. He's gone over that 14 of 20 games since the start of last season. 70% hit rate on this number. And then to the escalators, 100-plus yards at plus 215. 100 yards has not been a hard thing for A.J. Brown. Again, same span, he's done that 9 out of 20 games since start of last season. That's almost half of them. So that line is way off. 150 yards is 10 to 1. That's a little out of reach for him usually, but just, light touch on that one if you're going to play the escalator. I really like the Eagles here, actually. They're minus 7.5. I'm not playing the 7.5. I love this for a teaser. If you want to play a teaser this week, this is one of my favorite teaser legs we've seen in a couple of weeks. I might pair it with Chiefs Monday night. You can get that below the field goal. That's a pretty good spot. Bengals, if T. Higgins plays, would be my other pick. I looked at that here. I think Eagles teaser is a strong spot too. But this pick officially, A.J. Brown, over 75.5 receiving yards, 100-plus at 215 as well. And we'll hope for a big A.J. day.
Lightning round consists of sides and totals. A public side. The Sharps, according to our Action Network Pro Labs, the Pro Report, folks like Green Bay at home against Detroit, but you like the Lions -3.
I do. I'm going to take the Lions -3, and I'm going to address that at the top, too. A lot of love for the Packers here, -3. A lot of people got them -3.5 at home. It started to come back a little bit. So let's start there. You see the -3.5, or the +3.5, I guess, for the Packers, the -3.5 road favorite. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is a trap. If you look in our Bet Lab system, favorites of exactly 3.5 points, so just right above that key number, if the total is 42 or higher, so we're not expecting a really low-scoring game, the favorite is 60% against the spread over the last 2 decades. That is a trap spot that I think books are asking you, begging you, look, it's just above the key number. Take the underdog here. It's not gone that well. Here's another thing you're going to hear from a lot of Sharps this week. I've heard it on our podcast. It's a good point. Jared Goff outdoors. Finally, the first outdoor game of the season. It looks windy. We might get some rain. I think the Jared Goff outdoors thing is maybe misstated. Here's what I think. Jared Goff indoors with Detroit is phenomenal. He's 30-9 ATS in that spot. You want to back Jared Goff and the Lions there. Jared Goff not in that spot is 500 ATS. Now, that's not great. I'm not running to bet Jared Goff outdoors, but you're supposed to be 500 ATS. Like, that's the whole point of a spread, is to be 50%. If you're 50-50 on something, that's not a trend. That's a nothing. So I don't think Jared Goff is bad outdoors. I think Jared Goff is great indoors. Those are not the same things. So those gave me pause, but past those things, I think the Lions are just better at just about everything so far this season. I think they're better running and passing. I think they're better offense and defense. I think they're significantly better on special teams. We just saw that last week with Detroit against Tennessee. They're number 1 in DVOA on special teams. That's been a weak spot for the Packers for years, so that's a big thing. And I think Packers defense, though they've improved, is still the weak link in the game. Lions defense, do I trust them? Well, yes and no. I trust the run defense. I trust Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader up the middle. If you want to beat Detroit, I think they're beatable. You got to beat them passing. No Aiden Hutchinson, beatable corners. You got to beat them passing. So, Jordan Love, my guy. I have the MVP ticket on him. Jordan Love is limited right now. He practiced just as we're going to record. He's out there practicing. He's got an injured groin. I think people are giving a little too much credit to what Jordan Love could be, or if he's out, like, oh, Malik Willis is number one on EPA and CPOE. No, Malik Willis is still Malik Willis. We had like 60 snaps of Malik Willis, mostly against not great teams, mostly from a favorable script.
Titans, Titans, last week, Jaguars, I forget the third game.
I think Colts. I think he just gets to play the old AFC South teams. So forgive me for not believing in Malik Willis, and forgive me for not believing in limited mobility Jordan Love, who, don't forget, had the other injury that he's still not healed from, and importantly, Green Bay has a bye next week. So I think Love maybe tries to play here, but does he finish the game? I'm not so sure he does. And back to the bad weather outdoors thing. All right, so we know the Jared Goff thing. If there's bad weather outdoors, what happens? You run the football. Why don't I want the really good offensive line and the really good run game with two good running backs running the football? Lions are 6-1 ATS in the first half. They have led 5 straight first halves at halftime by 15 points a game, double digits every one of them. To me, this is a Lions script. Ugly weather, injured other quarterback or backup. You run the ball, you take the lead, you play Lions football. This is exactly what Dan Campbell wants it to be. I think if you like this angle, I don't mind if you'd rather play Detroit's division odds at -130. If you get this one right, Detroit already beat Minnesota. They beat Green Bay. They're in pretty good position. If you get it wrong and they lose, you still have outs. The Lions could still win the division later. So it gives you some flexibility there. I'll take the -3. If you only have the -3.5 available, we talked about it. I don't mind the -3.5, or wait and play live perhaps. But for this official pick, Detroit -3 and Captain Public, let's ride.
All right. Now, their side, Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, they've looked good. Now, they've had some soft landings here on their schedule. Panthers last week, Saints the week before, Chargers game against, a Big Ten offense, a Big Ten operation there with Jim Harbaugh. The Raiders, the Jets was a 10-9 game. This is no question Denver's biggest challenge to date on their schedule. You like Denver, though, in Baltimore.
I like Denver's number in Baltimore. Let's be very clear on that. Okay. I'm going to take the Broncos +9.5 in Baltimore. I guess we're running it back. We hit the Browns pick last week, so we're flying a little too close to the sun. Maybe I can see this going wrong, but I just can't get to anywhere near this number. I can't get anything past 7 really. So to me, it's a numbers play. The matchup, Vance Joseph, the defense, I think are the real deal. They've been top 5 against the pass, top 5 overall. I think they can hang. Baltimore's going to do their thing. They're really good offense. Good offense beats good defense. But I think Denver's defense can hang. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Bo Nix might hang a little bit. Bo Nix has come around a little bit. He's actually about even odds with Caleb Williams for Rookie of the Year. Baltimore's pass defense has not been great. They are bottom quarter of the league. I think that Bo Nix can pass at least a little, and if necessary, probably will be necessary, in garbage time. Nix has actually been pretty good in garbage time, which we'll get there in a second. Again, with the special teams, Baltimore special teams not good this year. Normally a staple for them. They're bottom quarter of the league on special teams. Denver is top 5 on special teams. So that's another just little hidden area where, Justin Tucker missed another field goal. Just a little kick return, a little free point somewhere. That helps us out here. Denver has 3 losses, every loss by 6 or 7 points. And all 3 of them, they trailed by 13 or more points in the fourth quarter, but fake caught up and got us through the back door here, basically. So I like that angle as well. That's a spot where Bo Nix has been annoyingly good. I've been on the wrong side of that one a couple of times. Lamar Jackson as a home favorite of 3 to 10 points. You know this stat. 6-18-1 ATS, 25%. Not a good spot for him. Sean Payton as over a touchdown dog, 6-2 against the spread. Crazy that there's only 8 times in his long career of coaching. Yeah. Doesn't happen much. Against teams better than 500, we've got over 100 games in his career. Sean Payton is 62% ATS. So I'm playing a number here that just feels off. Just for some data here on why this number is kind of a red flag to me. Denver, last week, covers as a more than touchdown favorite and now is more than a touchdown underdog. That's weird, right? So I looked it up in Bet Labs. We only have 8 times in 2 decades that's happened, only twice in the last decade. If you put that team over 500 like Denver, we're down to 3. All 3 of those teams in this particular game as the underdog covered by about 10 points a game. One of them actually won the game. And you guess what team it was? It was Denver. Denver did it. It's a trend. It has to be a thing. No, it's not really. But it's kind of weird that it's so rare. I think that's telling. On the flip side, Baltimore, favorites of more than a touchdown that lost by under a touchdown and are now in the same spot, favored by more than a touchdown. I know that's a lot of stuff. So they're big favorites. They lost a little bit. They're big favorites again. Those teams are 10-20 ATS. They've lost 3 of the last 5 outright in the spot. So I don't know. I don't feel good about it. It's Denver against Baltimore. Could it be halftime and it's 27-3 and I feel like an idiot? Absolutely. Even in that spot, Denver might still have a chance to get through the back door because that's kind of what Baltimore has been allowing. The money line here is plus 350. If I'm going hard. You know how I do, Brendan. We talked about this on Sunday night. Moneyline underdogs this season of plus 250 or longer are 9-11 straight up, 78% ROI, and Baltimore is responsible for 2 of the 5 biggest underdog wins of the season. Sean Payton has a lifetime ROI 25% as a moneyline underdog. I don't see it. I am not predicting a Denver upset here. I predicted the Browns one. I'm not going to victory lap this one, but I'm going to play it because we keep seeing these weird long underdogs. We keep seeing Baltimore do it. And I think Denver at least covers. So give me the plus 9.5. And just a little sprinkle in case weird stuff happens and Denver gets over the line on the money line.
Mentioned that small sample on Sean Payton. It's probably because for years, he had Drew Brees, he had respectable quarterback play. His former team, the Saints, they get Derek Carr back. He's going to be he's a limited participant in practice, but the expectation per reports is that he's going to start at Carolina. The Saints are in a bad way. They've lost 6 in a row, but a way you've bet against this team they're playing has boded well for you.
Yeah, I'm going to just keep doing what's working here. I'm going to take the Saints first half team total over 13.5. And here's the key, against the Panthers. That's the angle. We keep fading the Panthers in the first half. By the way, great transition from Sean Payton right into the Saints. That's a professional transition right there. Look, my church is celebrating All Saints Day on Sunday. So you got to bet the Saints this weekend, right? The Saints have been terrible. The fact that Carolina is more than a touchdown underdog at home to these Saints is genuinely stunning. Like, I really considered playing the Panthers plus 7.5. There are a lot of trends popping for me, and I just can't do it. Like, I don't know how low you make it for Carolina. What's weird is the total has dropped as Derek Carr went in from 46 Sunday to 43.5 now. I guess that's Bryce Young. I don't know. What's happened is the total being that low has brought our team total under the 14 and given us a spot where all we need now is 2 touchdowns. And we hit our team total over in the first half. Now, the Saints, as you might recall, Brandon, in week 1 played the Panthers and absolutely murdered them. I barely even got to turn the football on to start the new season. It was 47-10. Panthers Island, one last mention, was dead before the season even started. We're returning to the scene of the murder. The Panthers, other than the game that they won, the one game with Dalton, are 1-7 ATS first half on the season. The 1 is the game they won. And in those first halves, the average score at halftime is 24-7. They still, halfway through the season, have allowed 3 or more touchdowns in the first half of every single one of those games other than their win. We only need 2. So, am I nervous about Derek Carr being rusty? Absolutely. Am I nervous about backing Derek Carr and Dennis Allen as favorites? You know I don't love doing that. 3 touchdowns in the first half of every game. We only need 2. And, by the way, this is plus 102. They're giving us plus money on this thing. I have to do it. I have to hold my nose and just keep betting against the Panthers. I did it against the Panthers last week with the Broncos, and that worked out. They scored 3 touchdowns on them. Bo Nix got there. Why not Derek Carr? All Saints Day. Saints over 13.5 first half team total at the Panthers. That's the key.
Yeah. And like Kubiak was like the hottest name going for 2 weeks there, that Panthers game. And then they sort of validated it, I think, against Dallas when they were healthier at the time. I mean, I know they were banged up at the time
Felt
too.
like
You just faded Dallas today, but I mean, going back, I know we say in those first few weeks, it's early, but we can't like forget that didn't happen, especially when you have your quarterback injured.
Yeah, I recall there was some out there. There was some Derek Carr MVP buzz out there. I recall somebody here on this podcast betting on that ticket. So maybe I'm earning back some of our Derek Carr and Panthers money. Let's get it back here.
Okay, let's go do the look ahead. Look ahead to Week 10. Your favorite pick on the board first. You've already talked about going against this particular team with A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to play a rarity here. I don't normally back my Vikings, but I'm going to play Minnesota Vikings -3.5 in Jacksonville for Week 10. So I like the spot here a lot. We've talked about Jacksonville. We've faded them a bunch lately. But don't forget, this team is still just barely coming off of that double game in London without rest yet. They still haven't had time off. They still don't get that for a few more weeks. And Jacksonville is a big underdog in Philly. We expect that not to go well for them. So that probably moves the line that direction. The Vikings are on extra rest. They played Thursday, so they got a little extra rest while the Jaguars have no rest. They're big home favorites against the Colts Sunday night, a game everyone's going to watch. I think that probably goes well for them, I hope, as a fan. And so if the Vikings win big and the Jaguars lose big, we're not getting the 3.5 anymore. It's already 4 at some books. It's not going to go below 3. I don't see any way it gets there. So Jacksonville, again, probably the worst defense in the league. I think KOC can take advantage of that, especially the early scripted plays have been really good for Minnesota. So now you get out ahead on the front foot. We've seen how good Minnesota's been in that spot this season. And then the offensive line, let's not forget, the Jacksonville Jaguars just traded their best offensive lineman to Minnesota. So now you got Cam Robinson helping the Vikings here, mitigating the pressure from Jacksonville. And now you've got Jacksonville's offensive line even worse against all the Brian Flores pressure. So I like that for Minnesota as well. I don't even really give Jacksonville much home field advantage. So we're kind of just looking at just a neutral almost field for Minnesota. And I can't put them this low at 3.5. So just too low of a number. It's below the key number of 4. Give me the Vikings -3.5.
You have some family matters to attend to next week, so you've got a bonus look ahead. I almost want to take a little credit for this because I teased it on the recap on Sunday because the Titans are playing the Patriots, and I was like, well, if we're going to do Mind Shaft, I'm not sure you're going there right now because I don't think you can quite yet, but the Titans after the Patriots go to the Chargers.
Yeah. So we're just gonna play the play that everybody knows I will be playing. I'm gonna be gone next week, so giving out an extra pick in advance. Titans Chargers, you already know what we're doing for Titans Chargers. Why wait around? Under 38.5. It's obviously the play I'm going to make on this game. The hot read on Sunday night. We took both of these teams unders. You mentioned Titans Patriots. I took Chargers Browns. Now look, that one's risen a couple of points. I don't really get it. I still like the unders. I still feel good about both unders. Titans and Chargers, both genuinely good top 10 defenses. I don't trust either offense. These are very slow-paced teams, so that's going to always help an under. For now, every Chargers game still below 40 points in the season, 6-1 to the under. Jim Harbaugh, Mr. Big Ten football. Totals below 44 is 59% to the under, the second best active coach. And I think the script sets up well, too. These teams' first half unders are combined 9-4-1. We see a lot of these like Chargers 9-3 at the half, or, whatever it was last week, 9-5 or some like baseball score against the Saints. I think we just get this ugly slog that buries the game early, and then we just hold on for dear life and hope that they don't get in through the back door with some garbage time stuff. So 38.5, as you know, from these ugly unders. 37 is that last key number. I think this only moves one direction. Why wait around? There's no more analysis here. It's Titans Chargers. You got it, Brendan. We're playing the under 38.5.
Okay, very good. There have been a lot of moving parts behind the scenes this week. I went back and forth. We've had such great energy, so I hate to put a kind of a dismal tone to the end of this episode, but I went back and forth if I wanted to say something at the conclusion of our episode. I ultimately decided yes, because I realized a lot of other people did not get that opportunity to speak. I wanted to share. This is going to be my final episode hosting the Action Network podcast. I was brought on about 3 years ago. The job description, Brandon, was very simple. Traffic cop, point guard, tee up the analyst, get to the point, move from section to section, like the least important person possible. But I've always loved audio, how to maximize audio. So I could go on and on, but I'll stick to what my biggest priority was when I first came aboard. Be the best teammate. Most importantly, as a listener, you out there, listeners, viewers on YouTube, we have to consider you. Like, you matter. That's why this ship moves week to week, season to season. I try to do that to the best of my ability, help guys like Brandon shine in their shoes. That's why you tune in. They put in the time to their process, the research, which is all well and good. You don't see that, but then how it comes out in the finished product. The idea being is why you, the listener, should be listening to what they are saying. There's a difficult balance there, though, because guys like Brandon, for example, they have so much to share, and that's all great and dandy, but we have a deadline. There's several deadlines: time, recording, editing, audio, video, clipping, post, rinse, repeat. Each day, each week, each sport, each season. So I'll get to the point, because I'm being hypocritical. I have so much respect for every single one of our analysts. I've worked with all of you, no matter the sport, your thoughtfulness, your dedication to your craft. I hope I was a satisfactory playmaker to help each of you deliver your messaging. You have all grown so much as on-air personalities. I'm proud to have listened and watched each of you in real time become very, very good and awesome at conveying digestible, educational, entertaining, and our favorite word, actionable content. I am more than confident that you guys are prepared. And I know this pod existed before I even got here. I'm more than confident you guys are prepared to take the Action Network podcast to even greater heights. Thank you to the listeners. This does not exist, as I said earlier, without your consumption. Our audio crew, spearheaded by Matt Mitchell, David Payne, they are exceptional at what they do. As I said, the Action Network podcast existed before me and will do perfectly fine without me. So thank you all very much. Okay, that's it for Week 9 Best Bets here on the Action Network podcast. Don't forget to find Brandon Anderson in the free award-winning Action Network app. If he adds anything else, those escalators, to keep track of all of it, find him there. Check out the Action Network Discord as well. You can chop it up with fellow gamblers. Our experts are in there as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. Week 9, also, we've got plenty going on the podcast. Stuckey and Raybon with the Sunday six-pack. That is featured there. And we'll have more best bets coming your way. Stay tuned. Next week, we got some moving parts here, so be on the lookout. Thanks for listening to the Action Network podcast. Best of luck this weekend.